The Tale of the Gingerbread Man. Once upon a time, in a little village nestled in the heart of a vast forest, there was a humble baker named Martha. She was famous throughout the land for her delicious gingerbread cookies, which were said to be the best anyone had ever tasted. Martha took great pride in her work and would often spend hours in her kitchen, carefully measuring and mixing her ingredients to ensure that each cookie was perfect. One day, as Martha was preparing a batch of gingerbread dough, she noticed that she was missing a key ingredient: ginger. Without ginger, she knew that her cookies would not taste the same, and she worried that her customers would be disappointed. But she was determined not to let this setback ruin her baking. So, Martha decided to venture into the forest to search for the missing ingredient. As she walked deeper and deeper into the woods, she came across a small cottage made entirely of gingerbread. The smell of ginger wafted through the air, and Martha knew that she had found the source of her missing ingredient. Without hesitation, Martha knocked on the door of the cottage. To her surprise, a small gingerbread man opened the door. He had a broad smile on his face and was dressed in a tiny waistcoat and hat. "Hello, my dear," said the gingerbread man. "How can I help you?" Martha explained her predicament and asked if she could borrow some ginger to finish her cookies. The gingerbread man was more than happy to help and invited Martha inside. As Martha was mixing her dough, the gingerbread man began to tell her his story. He had been created by a kindly old woman who lived in the forest, and he had been given the gift of life by a magical fairy. Since then, he had been living happily in his gingerbread house, entertaining guests, and baking delicious treats. But the gingerbread man also had a sad tale to tell. He longed to explore the world outside of his little cottage, but he knew that if he left, he would never be able to return. His fear of being eaten by hungry animals or humans kept him trapped inside his gingerbread walls. Martha listened to the gingerbread man's story with great interest and sympathy. She knew how it felt to be trapped by fear, and she wanted to help the little gingerbread man in any way she could. So, Martha hatched a plan. She would bake a gingerbread man just like the one she had met and leave it in the forest as a decoy. That way, the real gingerbread man could escape from his cottage and explore the world without fear of being eaten. The gingerbread man was thrilled with the plan and eagerly helped Martha bake a perfect replica of himself. When the cookie was ready, they set it outside the cottage and waited for it to cool. As soon as the decoy was ready, the gingerbread man scampered out of his house and into the forest. He was free at last. Overjoyed, he ran through the forest, exploring everything he had ever dreamed of seeing. But, unbeknownst to the gingerbread man and Martha, a sly fox had been watching their every move. As soon as the gingerbread man was out of sight, the fox pounced on the decoy and gobbled it up in one bite. When the gingerbread man returned to his cottage, he found that his plan had been foiled. The decoy was gone, and he realized that he could never leave his gingerbread house. Martha was heartbroken for the little gingerbread man, but she knew that he had tried his best. She promised him that she would always remember him and his kindness. From that day on, Martha continued to bake her delicious gingerbread cookies, and the villagers enjoyed. As the gingerbread man ran through the fields, he came across a river. He couldn't swim, so he looked around for a way to cross. Just then, he saw a sly fox on the other side of the river. "Hello, gingerbread man," the fox called out. "Why are you running so fast?" "I'm running away from the baker who made me," the gingerbread man replied. "I don't want to be eaten." "Well, I can help you cross the river," the fox said. "Jump on my back, and I'll take you to the other side." The gingerbread man was cautious, but he wanted to get away from the baker, so he agreed. He jumped onto the fox's back, and they started to cross the river. But as they reached the middle of the river, the fox suddenly dove underwater. The gingerbread man realized he had been tricked, but it was too late. The sly fox swallowed him whole. And that was the end of the gingerbread man. But his tale continued to be told, warning others to be careful of sly foxes and to always be aware of their surroundings. The gingerbread man ran as fast as he could, but he could hear the fox getting closer and closer. Just when he thought he couldn't run any further, he saw a river up ahead. He knew that he couldn't swim, but he had no choice but to try. The gingerbread man reached the edge of the river and looked around for a way to cross. He saw a group of ducks swimming nearby and had an idea. "Excuse me, Mr. Duck," he said, "could you please help me cross the river?" The duck looked at him skeptically. "Why should I help you?" he asked. "I am being chased by a fox, and if he catches me, he will eat me up," explained the gingerbread man. The duck felt sorry for the gingerbread man and decided to help him. He called over his friends, and they formed a line across the river. The gingerbread man hopped onto the back of the first duck and made his way across the river, jumping from duck to duck. The fox watched in frustration as the gingerbread man made it across the river safely. But he wasn't going to give up that easily. He knew that the gingerbread man was too fast for him to catch, so he had to come up with a new plan. He decided to wait for the gingerbread man on the other side of the river, thinking that he would eventually come back this way. Sure enough, after a while, the gingerbread man appeared on the other side of the river. "Hello, gingerbread man," said the fox. "I see that you made it across the river safely. "Yes, I did," replied the gingerbread man. "Well, I was thinking," said the fox. "You must be tired from all that running. Why don't you hop onto my tail, and I'll carry you the rest of the way?" The gingerbread man thought about it for a moment and then decided that it was a good idea. He climbed onto the fox's tail, but just as they were about to reach the other side of the river, the fox opened his mouth wide to eat him up. But the gingerbread man was too smart for the fox. He quickly jumped off the fox's tail and onto the river bank. "You can't catch me," he laughed. "I am the gingerbread man, and I am too fast for you." The fox was left empty-handed once again, and the gingerbread man continued on his way, happy to be free and safe once again. From that day on, the gingerbread man was known as a hero in the town. Everyone was amazed by his bravery and his cleverness in outwitting the fox. And even though he was just a small cookie, he had proved that sometimes the smallest things can be the bravest and the smartest of all.